The year is drawing to an end, and Christmas is on its way. Good cheer is in the air. Lights and decorations sparkle and shine. The turkey is prepared for the family feast. And finally you settle your head down on your pillow on Christmas Eve, eagerly anticipating the fun of Christmas Day. But before you sleep, just remember, Santa Claus has made his list and checked it twice, and there's no guarantee you'll make it through the night, as Santa isn't the only one coming to town. During December, many Eastern European countries celebrate St. Nicholas Day. Inspiring the characters of Santa Claus and Father Christmas, St. Nicholas is said to visit children on the eve of his day, and assuming they had been well behaved, would reward them with gifts left under their pillow or in their shoes, similar to a Christmas stocking. But what if you haven't been a good little boy or girl? Well, then you'd be introduced to one of St. Nicholas's companions, Krampus. Resembling traditional images of the devil, Krampus stands tall with dark black fur, cloven hooves, goat-like horns, a long serpent-like tongue, and is loosely bound with chains. And his mission is to visit all the naughty children on the eve of St. Nicholas Day to punish them for their bad behaviour. With his bundles of birch, known as ruten, Krampus will chase and whip naughty children through the streets and in their homes, and will leave coal or even the birch bundles in their shoes instead of a gift from St. Nicholas, which upon discovery the next morning would sometimes be painted gold and hung round the house all year long by the long-suffering parents, as a constant reminder to their naughty children that they should always be on their best behaviour, as Krampus is always watching. Krampus is also known to carry a basket or bag on his back, and those lucky, or shall we say unlucky enough to escape a whipping, will instead meet a much darker fate, as they're bundled into the bag, later to be drowned, eaten by Krampus, or dragged down to hell for their sins. Believed by some to have originated in Norse mythology as the son of the goddess Hel, who ruled over the Norse realm of the dead, Krampus has risen in popularity over the last 2 centuries, despite countless attempts by religious and even some political groups to bring an end to the myth and its associated celebrations, which had mostly been halted since the 12th century. Modern revivals of Krampus began in the late 1800s, when people began exchanging KrampusKarten or Krampus cards, which are essentially Christmas cards depicting Krampus carrying out his dark duties, or on occasions in slightly more weird or comical scenarios. Annual traditions such as Krampuslauf or Krampus Run also take place in numerous towns and cities across Europe and some parts of North America, where adults dress in realistic and horrifying Krampus costumes and take part in parades to tell the story of Krampus, and often participants will scare children in the crowd and chase excited onlookers around the streets to bring the true horror of Krampus to life. thought to have originated around the 10th century from the stories of the Germanic legend Frau. Frau Perchta may appear as a beautiful woman, as pure and white as the winter snow, or to some she may appear as a haggard old crone with one abnormally large foot. But however she appears, her purpose is always the same: to punish those who have been lazy, untidy, or badly behaved. In a time when it was prohibited to spin wool or flax on holidays, or to leave unspun materials on the spinning wheel, Frau Perchta is said to have entered homes during the 12 days of Christmas, the period between Christmas Day and Epiphany, to inspect the work of the ladies, ensuring their yarn was all spun and spinning wheels were completely empty, and to judge the behaviour, obedience and work ethic of household servants based on whether the home was clean and tidy. If all was as it should be, your yarn spun, the house tidy, and you were deemed a well-behaved and dutiful servant, then your hard work would be rewarded with a silver coin left in your shoe. But if your yarn was not spun, then Frau Perchta would turn the remaining wool or flax into straw, and in some cases even set it ablaze as punishment. And if your spinning was not complete and the house also a mess, then Frau Perchta would waste no time in slitting open your belly, ripping out your stomach and intestines, and replacing them with straw and rocks for your idle behaviour. As such, Frau Perchta is often referred to by the very apt nickname, the belly slitter. Today, festivals still feature depictions of Frau Perchta, and more specifically her entourage known as Perchten, which consist of both beautiful creatures that bring good luck and wealth, and hideous creatures that help drive out evil. And as for Frau Perchta herself, well, you better make sure you've made your bed and your home is clean, because she still wanders the streets and countryside on the 12 days of Christmas, and you never know when you may receive an unwelcome visit from the belly slitter. Have you ever woken on Christmas Day to find your pots have all been scraped clean of leftovers? Maybe you were awoken on Christmas Eve by the sound of slamming doors. Or perhaps you thought you saw someone peeping in your window out the corner of your eye. Well, if you live in Iceland, there's a good chance that you're not imagining things, and instead have been visited by one of the 13 Yule lads. These harmless pranksters are thought to visit homes during the 13 nights leading up to Christmas, and much like Santa Claus, will leave gifts and rewards for well-behaved children. But they weren't always so harmless. In 1746, the practice of using such folklore by parents to scare and threaten young children was banned, and as a result, the Yule lads were forced to clean up their act. But prior to 1746, their antics were a lot more sinister, but none were more sinister than their mother, Gryla. While descriptions of Gryla vary greatly, she is commonly seen as an angry giantess troll or ogre, with cloven hooves, a tail, and hideous large warts on her nose. And much like Krampus, Gryla carries a large sack on her back. Always hungry for the flesh of badly behaved children, Gryla would rely on the Yule lads to return from their nights of pranks, with all the naughty children from the towns and villages gathered up, whose fate would be sealed as Gryla prepared her pot for children's stew. And in some tales, Gryla herself is also said to travel into the towns and villages to gather up fresh meat to satiate her appetite. But what of those who manage to avoid Gryla's pot? Well, it's likely they'll find themselves being stalked by her pet, the Yule cat. Thought to originate from the practice of wool farm workers receiving new clothes for a job well done, the Yule cat stalks those wearing old clothes after Christmas, devouring them for their laziness, and in the case of children, punishing them for their bad behaviour. Much like Krampus and Frau Perchta, Gryla and her sons also regularly appear in festivals and parades as people celebrate Christmas. And while still depicted as a hideous ogre, Gryla's intentions are of a more family-friendly nature. At least, for now.